He is seen as a loser by everyone, yet he married a beautiful woman. For 10 years of marriage, he never even touched his wife's hand. Not only did his mother-in-law dislike him, but even his sister-in-law gave him endless trouble. All this was because he was a mute and unproductive son-in-law, and he had no choice but to endure it. All because he secretly practiced a peerless martial art that required him to remain silent for 10 years. One day, he went to pick up his sister-in-law from school as her chauffeur. His sister-in-law looked disgustedly at her brother-in-law and said, "Stay further from the school when picking me up. I don't want people to know I have such a loser for a brother-in-law." Even though Quinn Lee was used to being called a loser, it still filled him with rage every time. But today would be his last day of forbearance, as the martial art he had been practicing was about to come to fruition. Meanwhile, his mother-in-law was looking for a new man for her daughter. Not only was this man a rich second-generation returned from studying abroad, but he also owned cars and houses and had an annual salary of $1 million. When Quinn Lie's mother-in-law heard this, she became very angry and shouted upstairs for Quinn Lie to come down and serve tea. Seeing Quinn Lie unresponsive, his sister-in-law prepared to go upstairs and teach this loser brother-in-law a lesson. But as she reached the doorway, her fair and delicate face started to turn red as her brother-in-law was only wearing his underwear in the room. This scared her into covering her blushing face and running downstairs. At this time, Quinn Lie in the room slowly opened his eyes. His 10 years of hardship had finally paid off. He put on his clothes and walked downstairs slowly. His mother-in-law was still berating him. "Quinn Lie, you are not only mute, are you also deaf today?" The rich second generation was also up to no good, pretentiously reaching out to shake hands with Quinn Lie. "I heard you married into the Chu family for their fortune. I'll give you 100,000 now. Just get lost." Before he finished speaking, Quinn Lie gripped his hand tightly, causing him to cry out in pain. "Hello, my name is Quinn Lie." His mother-in-law and sister-in-law were taken aback. Since when can this loser speak? Seeing her future son-in-law crying out in pain, the mother-in-law shouted at Quinn Lie to stop, afraid that her future son-in-law would be ruined by Quinn Lie. At this moment, his sister-in-law's phone suddenly rang, and the news from the phone left her stunned. A female customer used her sister's company's cosmetics, and within a few days, her face was covered with pustules. She demanded a compensation of $1 million from her sister, or she would have police arrest her. Upon hearing the news, Quinn Lie did not hesitate and turned to rescue his wife. His mother-in-law shouted at him to go backstairs and do chores. What can a loser do? But Quinn Lie ignored her, and the rich second generation, who was hurt by Quinn Lie, was overjoyed. His chance to show off had finally come, and he quickly stepped forward to say he had extensive connections. Even the police chief was his close friend. He patted his chest as he left, promising to handle the matter.